In this episode, we speak to Sumit Chawla of Justicers, and what got him interested in entering the ultra niche area of customized stickers, creating an e-commerce business out of it. We're looking at product market fit, being a premium provider in a market that's considered a costing play, hacking into culture for a personalized experience, on the ground challenges of running a venture, and dealing in an unorganized sector while trying to figure out getting funding offers early on in the venture's journey.
This episode is sponsored by OptiMeal. Get your scientifically designed and personally customized meals for losing fat, gaining muscle, being on a specific diet like keto or paleo, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, or simply enjoying delicious food.
Hey Sumit, welcome to the Super Growth Podcast. We're glad to have you here, man. Can't wait to get started.
Hey Harlaksh, thank you so much for having me on the Super Growth podcast. I'm really super excited and nervous to be here. And all the very best with this new, the podcast. It's like amazing for all the fellow entrepreneurs out there, and I'm sure it's going to be a big hit as well.
So I'm all set to dig in. It's been an interesting story. From ethical hacking to development at Langur to freelancing to now Justicers. Run us through the journey. Where did it all begin? How did you come up with the idea? The entire origin, basically the origin story.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting journey till now. So ethical hacking was something which I did as a side thing while I was studying in college, and I was like a complete geek. So that was the best thing I could pick up at that time. But apart from that, I also started freelancing while I was in college, and I met a lot of clients abroad. And that gave me a lot of inroads on how to deal with clients, on how to manage projects, and most importantly how to create solutions from different problems which the clients used to come to us with. So after this, I did a small internship at Infosys, and then I moved to Bangalore and I joined this awesome company called Langur. So at that time, Langur was basically into products as well, along with the services, and I joined the products team. So the product over there was to convert normal desktop websites into mobile websites because responsive was not an in thing at that time. It was an amazing learning experience. I had an amazing team there, and so there is actually a backstory about how my whole Bangalore trip was like out of this world. So the first time I moved to Bangalore and I joined Langur, so there was this hackathon which was happening from Yahoo, and it was like within the month in which I moved to Bangalore as well. So I just convinced my entire team to let's just go there and let's see what it is, because I have to be really honest, I never participated in any hackathon before, and we went there. It was a crazy time. It was in Sheraton, Bangalore, I think. And we had no clue what to do. We were just, enjoying, having fun, listening to talks and stuff. And so when the hackathon started, we got to know that we have to create something within the next 24 hours and non-stop 24 hours. So we're not allowed to sleep, obviously. And so the first 12 hours, we had no clue what to do. We were just brainstorming, playing PlayStation and ping pong and all that stuff. But then suddenly we got together as a group and we created a product called Pick Trends at that time. And it was basically showing trends in the form of images, so that it gives a clear, like a conceptualization of what is trending and why it might be trending, and then you could get more details out of it, like videos and tweets and Facebook posts and all that stuff. So during this event is when the whole idea of Justicers came to my mind. So basically. The goodie bag, the swag bag was given to us by Yahoo at the event, and that contained a couple of stickers from Yahoo as well. And being a geeky nerd, I wanted to put a lot of stickers on my laptop of the technologies I work with. And I started looking for them in India and I couldn't find it anywhere. And that's when the whole idea clicked me, like, if I need it, I'm sure like a lot of other people would, other developers would need them as well. And so I just started this as like a side thing just to test out how e-commerce works, because that's something which I had no experience in before. And so, I started this along with my job at Langur, and the ball started rolling and the revenue started increasing. And then I finally realized, like, okay, now it's time to, quit Langur and work full time on Justicers. And to be really honest, my team at Langur, my bosses at Langur, the CEO, the managing director, everyone was very cooperative with me, and they even promoted the whole thing, like let's do this, just go out and do your own stuff. So that's a very good thing to have as well. Yeah.
Would love to get into the business side of things, the growth side of things. How tough has it been to work in an extremely narrow niche? How strong is the competition, and where does growth really come from in a business like this? What model did you pick? You allow designers to upload their designs, and has that played a role in sort of growing the user base and getting traction?
The business side of things. Okay, so to be really honest, I have no business background as such. Freelancing is something which I used to do, but it was not business per se. And the only taste of how a company would work, or what a business model is I got that when we won the hackathon, the last hackathon, the Yahoo hackathon which we participated in. And surprisingly, yeah, we won the first prize in that, and that was like a big shock to all of us as well. And so once we won that, then we thought, let's just do something with this. Let's just make this into a proper product, because if it has the capability of winning a hackathon and really influential people loving it, so why not? Well, let's just turn it into a product. And that's when we started building it into a proper product, like the whole team at Langur, like my colleagues at Langur, Lalit, Jamal and Rakesh, so and I, all four of us started brainstorming and developing that into a product. And that is when we started receiving a couple of investment offers as well. Now, when I met the investment people, like the people who were willing to invest in us or understand what we were building and how it can make money, so that is when we realized that we don't have a business model at all. And a business model is very important for any business to survive. In the long run, maybe initially it can do well, it can be like a hobby project, but to be really honest, without a business model, nothing can survive. So that's the first time I got a taste of what a business model can do, because I don't have an MBA degree, to be really honest. And that's when I understood, okay, what a business model is. I started researching about it. But to be really honest, when I started Just Stickers, the only intention was to create a bunch of really cool stickers which I would want and which fellow people would want. And the whole business model at that time was like a very basic, intuitive kind of a thing which came from within me. Like, this is the sticker, this is the amount of costing which is going to, which I have to bear, obviously. And so I just, slapped a certain amount of profit on top of it, and just the infrastructure cost, the website cost and everything. And that's how I just started the whole e-commerce thing. So the business model was pretty simple: sell something, make profit. That's it. Like, we had no intention of going very big at that time or anything like that at that present of time. Growth wise, it's been a very rocky journey when I started out, because as I said, it's when you launch a new website, it's very hard to just go out there and get new customers and to build that trust. But it slowly started rolling, the ball started rolling, and people started liking what we were doing, and from word of mouth it just spread like wildfire at that time. And to be really honest, the product itself is kind of like a marketing element, because when you put stickers on laptops and phones, your friends and your fellow colleagues are going to ask you, where did you get these from? And if the quality is good, people are going to come to your website. So that's how we started growing, to be really honest. And from a narrow niche perspective, as I said, like when I was starting out, I had no plans of turning this into a full-time business. It was more like a hobby, like a passion of mine. And but to be really honest, later on I realized that starting something which is in a very narrow niche actually works in your favor, because you can optimize a lot of stuff at the granular level, and you can figure out a lot of stuff and not just go wide but instead go narrow, and that will give you the target audience would be very, very specific for you, and that makes your life easy. Basically, you can target the right people, what you need to build, instead of thinking about 1,000 things at that time. So that actually worked in my favor a lot. The competition at that time was non-existent, because as I said, I was looking for sites which would give me stickers like these, and I couldn't find a single one of them. So after, like, for the first year or two, like, there were none, like none of the competitors were there, and stickers as a concept in India was something which was non-existent. Sticker was there, but it was mostly like, those cheap stickers which you get on the roadside or in stationery shops. That is what stickers was for everyone in India. And to be really honest, Sticker Mule is a company in the US which has been an inspiration for me at that point of time when I was starting out. And I wanted to have something like that in India as well, where people would consider stickers as a premium product and not just some cheap product which you use and throw. And our main concern was that when people take stickers from us, they would apply it on their laptops and phones, and we didn't want them to get damaged, like the laptop, the gadgets and expensive stuff. So quality was the biggest focus, and hence we didn't want to compromise the price as well. And that really worked for us because people really loved our product, and we started growing. We do have a lot of designers. So as I said, like, I come from a background where I'm basically a developer, and I know a bit of designing as well. So basically there was this term called diviner, or I forgot the term right now, but there was this trend going on at that time in 2013-14, and so I started in 2014 basically, and at that point of time, so I did design a few designs of my own, of the ones which I wanted on my laptop. But then I realized if I really need to grow, I need to have a lot more designs and really good quality designs on the platform. And then that's when I realized, like, I have a lot of designer friends as well, and I realized that designers in India at that point of time were not very valued in 2014, and design was not very mainstream like it is nowadays. For example, if you look at the Cred app, it's like living on design, like the way it's been done and everything. But design at that time was in its very starting early stages, and responsive design and all that thing was coming into the picture. So basically what I wanted was to give a platform for designers as well, to really unleash their creativity to create really good stickers, because stickers is again a very narrow niche, right? So for designers, it's like very clear and concise on what they need to design, and this would give them an opportunity to earn on the side as well, because all our designers are on a commission sharing basis on our platform, and we have them like since the day we started. And some of them are actually like, not some of them, most of them are part of the Justickers family as well. And we consider each and every designer who has tied up with us on the platform to be a part of Justickers as well. And so we still have new entries coming in, but we are a bit more selective now, so that only really good quality stuff can come on the platform, and the stuff which people would love to buy and put up on their laptops and phones.
Right. So this one's interesting. So what were the mistakes you've made along the way? I'm very keen on always trying to note down things like these, taking lessons. What are the notable ones?
Mistakes is something which I guess everyone makes. I mean, when I was starting out, I had no clue what I was dealing with or what I'm going to do with it. So my only strong point was the development part of it, and so I was completely focused on that. Marketing was something which I was not very much focused on, and I don't know how come, but we still are not very focused on marketing at present. With God's blessing, organically we have been growing pretty well, and that's been in our favor as well. But apart from that, marketing is something which we haven't invested very well in. So that's just like one of the biggest mistakes. And I hired people a bit late as well. I should have been doing that from the day one, I guess. But at that time I didn't have that confidence or the knowledge on what to do or how to go about hiring and stuff. So that is something which I learned along the way. So yeah, I mean, mistakes do happen, but so hiring and not having a proper marketing team from day one, or from the second year maybe, I think these are the biggest mistakes which I have done.
Right. And what growth tactics have you deployed, specifically digital? Has influencer marketing, digital PR, social media marketing, etc. played a role?
Growth wise, as I said, we have been just focused on creating really good and awesome product, and luckily the product itself was like a marketing element for us, and word of mouth marketing was something which really worked for us. We really focused a lot on Instagram. We did try with ads. We played around with ads on Facebook and other stuff, but in the early days, I think the ROI on Facebook ads, Instagram was not big that time, and Facebook was the biggest thing, and Twitter obviously, but Twitter again was for a very limited set of audience, whereas Facebook was for general audience. And so the ROI on Facebook ads was very bad, and I didn't get the confidence to take it forward or grow it, or spend like a lot for a period of months, like 5-6 months is what I think is required to test the Facebook ads. But to be really honest, Quora worked for us very well, and a lot of people, a lot of our customers became our brand ambassadors on Quora as well. Whenever people were looking for stickers or anything like that, we or our customers used to automatically comment and answer those questions, and that really worked for us. So basically, the investment in marketing on that was zero, whereas the ROI was pretty good. So I would recommend, if anyone is starting something, find the respective related questions on Quora and just start answering them honestly, like no candy coating, or sugar coating them or anything like that. Just plain and simple, just answer the questions with what you're offering and how it can help them, and if you can even recommend something else, it works. It works. Quora marketing works very well. And apart from that, Twitter was mostly, our front facing for support stuff. So most of the people used to tweet us on Twitter, and we used to take care of it. But yeah, we definitely do have different channels of support as well. But I think Twitter has been the basic support social media channel for us. Apart from that, digital PR, we haven't invested a lot, as I said earlier as well, and that is one of the biggest mistakes we did. Social media marketing was something which began to pick up recently when Instagram became big, and so after that we shifted completely to Instagram, and Facebook was something which was in the back burner. On Instagram, what worked for us was, again, a lot of customers sharing images. So we used to give out simple notes and handwritten notes to customers, where we would thank them for buying with us, buying from us, and if they really love the product, we would request them to share it on Instagram and share it with their friends. Basically organic growth, and it worked for us. A lot of people loved the product and they shared it on Instagram, and we reposted them, or in general it just created a vibe of stickers in India. And so we were kind of, I believe that we are kind of the pioneers on introducing laptop stickers in India, where no one used to even think about them at that time. And so having that advantage with us at that particular moment really worked for us on social media as well. Right now there are a lot of websites offering different materials of stickers as well, really cheap materials and cheap rates as well, but what we offer still now is the premium product, and we really don't want to compromise on that. And that's the reason, even though there are like cheaper stickers available in a lot of websites, people still come to us and people still love us, and that really makes our day every day.
Right. Have you given paid ads a shot? Organic is sort of, not really going anywhere. I mean, it's going for some people, but they're not really going for everyone. So, Google ads, Instagram promotions, Facebook ads.
Paid ads is something I really gave a shot early on, and even in the middle. And paid ads is something which is always going to be a part of any digital business. Like it's like a part and parcel of any digital business, basically. But to be really honest, I am not very good with paid ads management. And initially, as I said, I did try a lot of paid ads with Facebook, and the ROI was very bad on that. And either it was very hard to track, maybe, or maybe I didn't do it right. I don't know at that point of time. And again, coming back to one of my biggest mistakes is not hiring a proper marketing person when I was starting out. And but the silver lining is that I did learn a lot of stuff about marketing and how these things are done and how these things are handled. But yeah, definitely any day a dedicated person to manage these is always the right way to go, and I would recommend all the first time entrepreneurs out there to just do that. that. Don't try to do everything together, because it then just becomes like a soup basically. And so Facebook ads didn't work for us very well. Instagram promotions did do pretty well, and we did get a lot of engagement and website visits with Instagram ads. And Google ads is something which we never tried dedicatedly, and we are working on revamping that and growing big. So to be really honest, I'll just give you a story about Google ads. So once upon a time, throughout the period of Just Stickers, a couple of people did contact us regarding Google ads, but the kind of budgets they had to spend over 5 lakhs a month, or in a couple of months, to test out Google ads. And at that point of time, when we were starting out, we didn't have that kind of a budget to even think about it. So that's the reason we never shifted or inclined towards Google ad at that point of time. But I think anyone can manage Google ads, and you don't need that big a budget to start out when you're starting out as a small company who doesn't have a lot of big revenue or backing from an investment fund or anything like that. But definitely Google ads is something which can be used to A/B test on how people are reacting to your product, or you can just start growing. So once you crack the right ad which works for you, you can then start investing more on it. And once the ROI starts coming in, then even spending 4 or 5 lakhs on it won't be a big problem, because you're getting the returns out of it. But just spending blindly on something and not measuring it or not optimizing it is something which I would never recommend anyone to do, and I myself never did that. So it's a very tricky slope, to be really honest, paid ads. And luckily we have been growing organically, and all our customers and all the people who love us, we are completely thankful to them for this.
You have bootstrapped the venture and grown it organically, so that's always interesting. And it's always good to hear that people have done that and not taken outside funding. So can you share some numbers on how much you've grown year on year?
So when I started Just Stickers, I had no plans of going big with it or having it into a proper business. It was more like a side experiment on how e-commerce works, and I was already in a job at that point of time. And so initially in the few months, we had revenues like 2,000 to 5,000 rupees a month, and I was really not bothered at that time, because it was that much amount was also very, very special for me, because I was building something and people were building something physical, like a physical product, and people were buying it from me and they were loving it, and they were paying me for the product as well. So that whole experience itself was very blissful for me, to be really honest. And my only focus was on how can I improve the product quality and how can I reach more people so that more people love the brand, love the product. And that's it. That was the only intention I had at that point of time. I didn't have any business model, or I didn't have all those specific jargons which nowadays investment people use, like CAC and all that stuff. But So after that, what happened, organically we grew. People loved us and people shared it with their friends and families and on social media, and that's how people started coming on the website. So we have been growing, initially obviously the growth was exponential, because when you're small, the revenue increases exponentially at that point of time. But now we can easily say that our year-on-year growth is around 90 to 100% every year. And I think the biggest reason for this is the B2B business of our store as well. So we produce really high quality premium vinyl stickers, and a lot of companies do need them a lot, for the employees to give them away on different events and stuff. And we have been the go-to company for a lot of companies which go abroad with these stickers because of the quality. And so we have one customer in almost every tech company in India right now, and most of the big shot companies are our clients as well, for a very, very long time, and so that's been really working for us, just providing really good quality service and good quality product. So to all first time entrepreneurs, I would just say, don't worry about the numbers and don't worry about the stuff. Just focus on what you're building and make sure that people who is using it, they will love it. Just try to place yourself in their shoes and see if you, for example, if I am buying a sticker from my website, how would I want to unpack it? How would I want to hold it in my hand? How would I feel about it? Would I put it on my laptop? Would I put it on my expensive MacBook maybe? Would I give it to someone? And all these thoughts used to come to my mind, and that's how I just focused on the quality and the experience of the whole website. obviously you see a lot of problems with any e-commerce company. You do face a lot of logistics issue and stuff, but yeah, you grow over it and you try to do it better and just make sure that each and every customer is happy with what you're doing.
Okay. And what's your current CAC, like consumer acquisition cost, and how has it changed over the years?
Okay, so I was just looking up CAC as you were talking about it. So CAC, or customer acquisition cost, is something which I never calculated, to be really honest. And initially, my only focus was on how to improve the product and how can people love us more. So that was the only focus. And as we never went for any investment or anything, so I never really prepared any decks or any of these metrics on how I can value my company or how much is the CAC. So initially, the whole focus was on just to create really good products which people would love. So yeah, I guess we need to focus more on that and figure out what the CAC is, because these things are important. Like once you reach a certain stage when even small slight optimization in the CAC can improve the profits and improve the company's performance as well. So yeah, we need to focus on this more, and I'll update you once I figure this out as well.
Now, how important has UX UI been for your business? I mean, overall, the benchmark of customer experience, user experience has gone up, primarily because everyone's using fancier apps and everyone's used to better design. How important has it been?
UX UI not initially, like when I was starting out, UX UI was the main thing which I was like completely obsessed about at that point of time. So I was in a products company, and over there also UX UI was pretty important. But for me, I guess so UX UI is something which I did initially, like when I was building the website on my own. So I didn't have the money, to be really honest, to hire a very talented designer to design the whole website at that point of time, because this was more like a side project where I wanted to learn how e-commerce worked. And designing is something which every developer does nowadays. Like it's like a part and parcel of the whole web ecosystem. So yeah, so at that point of time, my whole focus was to have the background and the elements a bit dull or basically grayed out, because the stickers itself are going to be very vibrant and colorful. So my whole focus was to just keep the focus of the viewer or the customer on the images of the stickers and not the website or the UI elements as such. And it worked for me. I did get a lot of people saying that they really like the website and stuff, and it's been working because the sales and have been growing slowly. So we didn't mess around with the design much over the years, but now we are working on a modified version where, because initially we didn't have a lot of stickers at that point of time. So the focus on UI and UX of how the search would work or how people would find stickers which they are looking for was never a concern, to be really honest. But now we are at a stage where we have more than 2,000 designs and new designs being added on a weekly basis. And at this point of time, it's very important for having a good flow of the website on how a person would find the sticker they are looking for, instead of just browsing through the whole catalog and then figuring out what they want. So this is something which we are working on, and the new version of the website is in the works, and it's going to be out very soon.
Where do you see Just Stickers going in the future? This is I'm always the macro vision. I'm always interested in that, and I think everyone else looks at that as well. What is your vision for Just Stickers?
So when I started Just Stickers, my only focus at that point was that whenever anyone thinks of stickers in India, they think of us. So that was the only mission or only vision I had, because I was looking up, when I'm starting a business, like what is the vision of the business and all that stuff. But at that point of time, to be really honest, I had no clue like what's going to be my long-term vision. But yeah, my only vision was just that stickers means Just Stickers, and that's what I have been sticking with for the last few years. And in the future also, I think that's the only vision which I have for the company, where if anyone wants stickers and no matter what quality, whether it be paper, a premium vinyl or a cheaper vinyl, they come to us. And that's the complete vision, just to be the stickers company of India, and also leave a mark on the world, so that people outside India also recognize us, like this is the company, if they want to go in India and get stickers, this is the company they go to. And we do ship worldwide, and we have a lot of customers in the US, in Europe, and even in Southeast Asia.
Right. And for the people listening, in terms of growth, what's that one takeaway?
Okay, so growth is a very, very tricky thing for any company, and it has to be there. It has to be very fast, but then again, not fast enough so that it doesn't break the company in itself. See, if you are a funded company and you have a lot of advisors and board members and stuff, you can do things in a different way. You can grow at an exponential rate and not make profit, and still break even later down in the line. But when you're a bootstrap company, you're a small business, and you don't have a large team, or very huge board of directors or something, and most importantly, you don't have a lot of funding behind you. So I think at that point of time, you have to really balance out on how you grow. Like you can't just spend, like for example, if your revenue is like 50,000 rupees a week or a month, and you spend like lakh rupees per week on marketing, so that's going to give you a lot of growth, but then again, it might incur a lot of losses for you if you don't do it well. So this is something which is very important for you to balance out, so that it doesn't kill the growth of the company, and yet leave a lot of margin of profit for you, so that you can reinvest that in growing the company, in growing yourself. Because I guess as a small business owner, it's very important that you grow yourself as well. In my case, I was primarily a developer when I started this, but at this moment I am into so many things, and I have so much knowledge about different stuff on how even CST works, right? So these things matter a lot. Growth is a very tricky thing, and it should be very balanced if you're a bootstrap company, so that it doesn't kill the company, but it does grow the company, and you enjoy the growth as well.
Right. And Sumit, who have your role models been? People you follow, people, and you recommend, these could be anybody. These could be people within your family, your friends, on the internet, people who you think are have played a role.
So role model wise, I would say the biggest role model for me when I was starting Justickers was my dad, and he was the main reason why Justickers is here today. Basically, when I was working, so obviously I didn't have full time to focus on production, on how meet different vendors and stuff at that point of time. And this is where my dad really stood up for me, and he helped me out, and this is how he became a co-founder of Justickers as well. And even my mom did support me a lot. So definitely my parents are my role model, and it was very sad for me last year, because we lost dad due to a certain heart attack, and it was a very hard time for us as a company as well. But the teachings which he gave, and everything which he gave to me on how to handle this has been like phenomenal. But in real world, like if I talk about people like role models whom I can't contact or get insights from, I would say Paul Graham is someone I follow on Twitter. I obviously can't go and talk to him and get insights and stuff, but so Y Combinator was something which I was really interested in after winning the hackathon, and we did fill a lot of entries and stuff at that point of time. And that is when I started learning about him and how he founded Y Combinator, and his different investments and his thoughts on how a business should work, and how so he actually said this statement which has been stuck with me forever. He mentioned that like a startup is a company, is a business which has a 10% growth on a per week basis. Otherwise you're just a business. So a startup should definitely have an exponential growth, and this is where I realized that we are like not growing as fast as Paul Graham would want any company to grow. But yeah, Paul Graham is one person who I really like reading about, and his articles and his tweets. And Elon Musk is a cliche role model, but yeah, I like the way how he has been managing so many companies, all at once. So that's like a big wow moment for me. And even my my bosses at Langur, like Venu, Richard, so they have been role models for me on how they grew Langur. Richard has like been my role model ever since I joined Langur, how he grew the company, how he started the company and everything. So yeah, but to be really honest, role model is not something which you just look up to one person. You get to learn so much from so many people you contact on a daily basis. Harlaksh has been a big role model for me as well. I talk to him about so many stuff regarding business and other things in life. So as I said, role model can be anyone, but it's up to you on what you learn and what you absorb from the people you talk to.
You always wonder, what's the thing that sets you apart in such a narrow niche?
When I was starting out, I didn't even think about the niche at that point of time. But then later on, when I was looking up on how a business is supposed to be, how is it supposed to be run, and just read some different business blogs as such. So at that point of time, I really understood that actually starting a very narrow niche business, not too narrow, but narrow enough to be really, good, really be a good niche basically is something very important. And so being the first company to launch a stickers marketplace in India itself was like a big bonus for us, even though it's like a narrow niche, but it worked for us because there is a lot of demand for stickers at that point of time, and they were like no suppliers or no proper high quality stuff. But I think what sets us apart mostly is the quality which we give, the reusable stickers which we make. We ensure that people love the product from the moment they hold it in their hand, and even after they apply it to the laptops and stuff. So I think that sets us apart from all other companies in India at present. And the way we, even though it's like a small product, the way we make the customers feel when they receive it has been a very important part for us. So yeah, so don't be afraid to start in a narrow niche. And I even read stories about how Shopify was used, to create narrow niche e-commerce websites and then drop ship them to people, and that has been very profitable for a lot of people in the States. So yeah, finding a narrow niche and being really good at it can actually work wonders for you. So just go ahead and find your narrow niche and just do something good. Just build something.
Right. And what's your single biggest strength when it comes to growth? The special sauce that's enabled growth in your venture?
Okay, the single biggest strength when it comes to growth, I think my strength has been from the start is that I love to build things, with whatever I can code, and coding has been a blessing. When you think of education wise, it's been a blessing to me. It kind of liberates me. Like I can, I have that belief that I can create anything I want using the knowledge I have. So especially now when it comes to a digital business, a digital store, so having that power of developing stuff and just that ability to create something without being dependent on others, I think played a big role in my growth. So whenever I wanted to launch something new, for example, we launched this special feature which is non-existent anywhere in the world. It's called app icon sticker. So it basically you can just fetch it's like a custom sticker, but you can just copy a URL of any of the apps out there, and if you want you can get a sticker out of it, and all this has been automated. So creating small features like these was very easy for me. I could save a lot of money on not spending on hiring a lot, really good developers. I'm not saying that you should not hire that. It's just that at that point of time when I was growing, it really helped me a lot to create these new features, create a kind of a buzz around it, and so that enabled our growth as well, because we didn't spend a lot in marketing, and which I still regret that a lot. But yeah, having this ability to create stuff was the biggest strength which I had while growing, and that allowed me to do a lot of growth hacks, to just grow at a good pace. But yeah, that didn't allow me to grow very fast as well, so which is something which I feel sad about. Like there should be a team and a lot of people in a company, and that's why I would say just hire people as fast as you can and hire really good people so that you guys can grow together.
And where do you think e-commerce is going in India, especially in your space?
Okay, e-commerce is in a very exciting time at present in India. and it's going to grow. It's growing, and it's going to really hit big once we start tapping in all the different tiers of cities as well. Because till now, we have been only focusing on most of the metros, like not us as in Just Tickers, like us as in the whole industry in itself. But recently, in the last couple of years, people have been targeting a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and a lot of apps specifically in vernacular languages have been coming out, and they have been doing really, really well. For us, our main focus is to focus on all the companies which would require stickers and which can be our potential customers, and basically reach them in whatever cities they are. But apart from that as well, I guess printing is something which is not like a long-term solution, to be really honest. Like if I think about 10 years down the line, so the whole printing industry might change drastically. So we are looking at launching a couple of other features and other solutions as well along with this, which can be helpful to us in the long run as well.
Are you expanding to other areas in terms of products or regions?
Yes, so we are looking at adding a lot of other services and features and different products. So from a B2C perspective, at present we only have stickers, coasters, and badges. But we are looking at adding a lot of innovative stuff which is not usually available at all the other e-commerce pop art websites which are out there. So we are only focused on adding really good quality stuff which people would love to have. And apart from that, from a B2B perspective, we are looking at adding a lot of new features and stuff as well, because to be really honest, printing is not something which is going to be a long-term thing. Like definitely printing is going to be there, but given the environmental changes and the way we are heading towards everything being digital, and I don't know, like maybe 20 years down the line or 10 years down the line, printing might just not exist. Whatever we use right now are completely eco-friendly at present, but so we are looking at really innovative stuff from a marketing and from a B2B perspective, which companies would need in place of printing stickers later on in the future. So it's pretty exciting. And from a regions perspective, we are at present primarily in India, but we do have customers all over the world. So we are looking at how we can expand to different regions in specifically Europe and US, and how we can make the whole delivery, the life cycle of a product going out from our place to the customer's place in a much better manner. And this will only help us if we start production somewhere in those countries. So but anyway, we haven't thought a lot about this at present, and our only focus is on working in India right now, and delivering it throughout the world from India itself, make in India basically. So that's the main focus. But different services which we are looking at launching, which are going to be primarily in the digital space. So those can be basically be delivered to anywhere easily, and so a lot of exciting stuff are going to come up soon.
Thank you so much for the podcast. This is really interesting. I had a great time speaking to you about all kinds around Just Tickers. I'm hoping for connecting with you soon again, and I'm sure everyone else is taking a lot of value out of this. All the best.